I have not read in some time, but there was a time when I was an avid reader. I devoured Warhammer novels through and through. And today we're going to be talking about the Ultramarines saga. This saga is plagued with deafening, soundless woes, but also has incredible crescendos. I would have preferred to done this in chronological order, but instead, I think that I'm just gonna go with the book that I read first, and this was actually my very first introduction to Warhammer. The very first novel, the very first characters, very first settings. For me, my experience really got started in a meaningful way with Dead Sky, Black Sun. Okay, judge this book by its cover, for God's sake. If there was ever a book to be judged by a character, it's this one. They did it so well. Okay, look at him. Look at. Tell me what you see. You see an Ultramarine. What is an Ultramarine? That's the poster boy of Games Workshop, right? Quintessentially the good guy, but he doesn't have a happy face. Okay, he's got skulls. Look at his armor. Like, this cover did such a great job of explaining what this book's about. And then, I mean, read the title. Isn't that thought-provoking? Dead Sky, Black Sun. You know, this is one of the few 40K novels that just is requisite with the poetry that makes Warhammer wonderful. It's not, Warhammer is not written literally. Like, very few things happen literally. There's a lot of action. But Warhammer is poetry. It's figurative, and it's meaningful. So Dead Sky Black Sun is the first book I ever read of 40K, and maybe it's just because the visuals were so vivid, I hadn't really pulled myself so deeply into reading. I had read Redwall before. I am currently reading that, so I'll get back to you on how I feel like reading that as an adult. But it really just, it's an incredible story. It's a weird story. I have read similar stories to it, but it's just all the details. So basically, here's the synopsis, okay? You have Uriel Ventress. He's the guy in the cover. The guy on the cover, okay? He's a space marine. In the Nightbringer, I didn't mean to drop you. Oh my gosh. The librarians will come to kill me. And the Nightbringer, which you see like the same character on the front. Oh, come on. Will you focus? Will you focus? $200 for what? What did I pay for? What did I pay for? Oh my gosh. I know. Okay, I've spent too much time. Anyways, in the Nightbringer, Uriel Ventress, he becomes promoted. He becomes promoted to captain because his sergeant is killed, or the captain's killed, and so he gets his captain's sword. And it's a great book. This has nothing to do with the Nightbringer. I don't know why this is called the freaking Nightbringer. Okay, this was written back when Warhammer was still like defining itself, I guess. I believe this is a 90s release or a 2000s release. And the Nightbringer just shows up at the end. Uriel is like, what is that? And it's the Nightbringer. But they fight Tyranids. And in order for Uriel Ventress to defeat the Tyranids, he has to break the Codex Astartes. He has to he has to go against the rules. I think he risks himself or something when he didn't have to. He joins a Death Watch team, and they go, and he breaks the rules. And so that was a prologue to Dead Sky Black Sun. And Dead Sky Black Sun, I believe Uriel is he's going to be sent to receive his punishment. He's been the guys at McCrag. They're like, you know what, Uriel, not good. We can't do anything to you. So he's excommunicated with his best buddy Pasanis. Pasanis is really cool. He's kind of just the bear of a space marine. Whereas Uriel is gruff and really just a gritty character. Pasanis is kind of just this. He's an excellent foil. He's nice. I would almost call him a salamander, except without the technical prowess. So they're aboard some Imperial ship, and then the Gellerfield collapses. The Gellerfield collapses, and suddenly warp nightmares fill out. And the first time I read this, I kind of just read past it. I think I was 12 or 13 or something. I was not an avid reader, so I kind of just muddled through it, just kept pushing through it. Well, they made a demon, and the demon aboards the invites him aboard this train. I think Uriel was either feeling low on his luck or something, but basically everyone's there on the ship. So they get on the train, they get kicked off, and they go to this planet, and it's hellish. It's the one on the cover. It's hellish. It's dead sky, black sun. They're on Medrin Guard, home of the Iron Warriors, and Perturbo himself, the Demon Prince. And so, what do the Iron Warriors do when they're not sieging others? They're sieging themselves. So Han Sao, the Warsmith, he got an incredible booty. If you were not 19, you didn't laugh at that. When he went through Storm of Iron. Storm of Iron, it's the first book that I read from the Chaos point of view, where Chaos actually is cool. Normally, up to this point, I mean, you have Gaunt's ghosts, and they snipe Chaos Space Marines faceplates off with light laser guns, okay? That's what they do in Gaunt's Ghosts. Chaos Space Marines are Three Stooge-like characters, really, in Gaunt's Ghosts. This is the first one they were badass, okay? It deals with the technovirus. Like, one of the tech priests accidentally accesses the virus, and that transforms him into an obliterator. More importantly, it talks about guardsmen facing the legions of the Chaos Space Marines. So that's pretty great. That's pretty great. It's an incredible novel. Just a lot of interesting Chaos stuff. So Han Sao, his fellow warsmiths are not into him, and so they decide to siege him. And Han Sao says, "Okay, bring it on." And you get a sense of scale. You get a sense of Han Sao having multiple tiers of defenses, where at the bottom you actually have mounds of dirt and trenches with human slaves defending it. And as soon as those are taken off, there's excavation equipment that's rolling through there to try to take it down by the other side. So you've got fucking trucks and construction equipment and shit, like shielded, of course, up top, like trying to build ramps and stuff at the bottom. They've got Titans fighting each other. Han Sao sends out his favorite. You get to figure out what a possessed Marine is. You almost. I read some stuff pretty recent, though. The Night Lords, they have possessed Marines in there, but this was the first possessed Marine, and he's a ninja. He goes and just ninjas a shit ton of people. So, anyways, getting back to Uriel Ventress. Uriel Ventress, the first thing he sees when he gets on the planet are the flesh camps. You know, he's he has to run away from these evil bats, and he does that by turning off his heart. The Space Marines have 3 hearts. One of them is a secondary, and one of them is like a tertiary. And the tertiary is only there to put them into a state of suspended animation so that they can regenerate. And that's how they get away from the bats. Isn't that fucking cool and clever? And so him and Pasanis, they're wandering around, and they're like, what are we gonna do? Survival's cool, but is that all we have? And they see the flesh camps. There's all these people. They're getting closer to the camps, and there's these stages just set out, just out in the wasteland, and there's just massive amounts of ichor, and left out to dry are sets of human skin, but bloated far beyond the proportions that any even the most morbidly obese could wear. So at this point, they're asking themselves like, there's something terrible going on here. Is it our duty to survive, or is it our duty to put an end to it? And they're like, you know what, screw it, we're gonna do this. So they run headlong. They just charge the place. They just run headlong into the flesh camps, and they are assisted by renegade space marines who fire rocket launchers, killing the enemy Chaos Space Marines, damaging their bunkers, and eventually they get to the camps. And Uriel's like, "We need to save these people." And the renegade, he's like, "Why? What are they gonna? What are they gonna? What are you gonna? What are they gonna do here?" And so they put a torch to it. In one tent, you have these morbidly obese, like maybe a dozen people, and in the other, you have these super skinny, like tens of hundreds of them. And what they were doing was extracting all the fat and nutrients out of the skinny ones and then putting it into the fat ones to make them bigger. Why would they be doing this? Why? Who needs all of this skin, and for what purpose? So at this point, they join the Renegade Marines, and the Renegades Marines are like, yeah, it's just our deal. We go out, we raid them. And Uriel's like, you guys are insane. We need to just kill all the Iron Warriors. Every second that an Iron Warrior lives, your vows to your chapter are being usurped. And they're like, forget the vows. So they get at it. They go back and forth, and eventually they end up decide, you know what, fine, we're just gonna go. We're going to attack the base, the Hansao's fortress, and that goes pretty well. Oh yeah. That's why that. Okay, so they fight. They get on that construction equipment that I was talking about. They sneak up through the ramparts, and they find the Savage Morticians. They're captured by the Savage Morticians because the Savage Morticians, after every battle, they go send corpse carts out to collect pieces. And now they're not just like beautifying the battlefield. They're doing strange esoteric. They're doing strange and esoteric things. And so they decide, Hansao decides that Uriel's punishment would be the worst out of all of them. The Morticians experiment on everyone else. They cut off Bassanus's arm. Bassanus actually had like a Necron arm, a Catan arm, which he was like horrified about. So he was pretty happy about that. But what they do is they staple Uriel within the Dimon Kabla, or I don't even know if I pronounced it right, but it's basically like this huge, massive woman, like the size of, I don't know, like several Space Marines. Or probably more appropriately, several VW buses. And she starts gestating him. And for whatever reason, he fights against it, and he does not take. But the Demon Kabla are how Hansao grows new Chaos Marines. See, he has a stash of gene seed that he stole from that planet, from Storm of Iron, and so that's how he makes them. Unfortunately, there's only one problem with the process, and that is that the problem with the process is they are born skinless. So Uriel is fleshed away, and he goes and he meets the unfleshed, and they are a hideous, macabre set of freaks. Every one of them is a genetic reject from the from the Chaos Space Marine conversion process. And so Uriel's flushed away. I think Bassanus goes with him somehow. And Uriel finds himself amongst the freaks, and they're going to eat him, but then he stands up to the strongest one and he punches him. And so they like him. And Uriel and Bassanus realize that the freaks aren't all evil because they're taking back nutrients and food for the freaks that can't move themselves. And so he makes an alliance with the freaks, the unfleshed, and they smell the mother's blood on him, so they don't eat him or kill him. And it turns out that these childlike imposters of life worship the emperor. So the Uriel bonds with them, and that was pretty cool. And so he convinces them to go attack the base. You know, why not? And they free a demon. Han Sao was powering his entire factory with a demon, and Han Sao unleashes it against them, and that's how it ends. Uh, it's just a great book. It deals with what it is to be a space marine, really. It's a book about space marines, but unlike other space marines, these ones are not virtuous. They are not. Even though Uriel is the protagonist, he's constantly being balanced against the renegade marines. It's you're constantly asking yourself, is he going to join the renegades? So that's how that book ends. I'm not going to talk too much about the Killing Ground. Um, there is a wonderful depiction of Pausanias missing his arm because, like I said, they took the Savage Morticians took his arm away. So I mean, it's a really cool looking book, but it's just nothing happens at all. They get back and they have to prove that they're pure, and all the unfleshed come with them and come to an imperial world, but the unfleshed are ghosts or something dumb. I don't know. Graham McNeil clearly made a tale of filler. So for the rest of the video, as punishment, this one will not be sitting with the rest of the books. Next, we have Courage and Honor. This novel is great. There is a quintessential difference in the art style now. Like, I mean, just compare. These to me, this does not look like the same man. It doesn't even look like the same man at different points of his life. It looks like the same man depicted by two very different artists with two very different approaches. And maybe it's intentional because the tone of this one is really kind of light. The Tau come to invade a set of imperial worlds, and it's up to Uriel and Pausanias to stop it with and they have some scouts, and the scouts are cool. Highlights of this book that I really like about it. The scouts eat the Tau's brain to figure out how to drive the piranha. It was cool how they described that process. How we just intuitively knew how to use the controls, because that is a power Space Marines have, is eating the brains of the dead to learn how they can operate their equipment. Courage and Honor is great. This one mostly explores the difference between or rather how the ethereals control the Tau. The ethereals have some sort of power or pheromone or ability that may or may not be warp related. I can't exactly rule that out, but it just doesn't seem to be something warp like. And like, so there's this female Tau who's held against her will. And this takes place, I think, back on Pavanis, which is what the other book took place, the first one, the Nightbringer. And so you get to revisit some characters. There was an Adeptus Arbites judge that she ends up becoming like a commander. She's a cool character. I like her a lot. They describe an ornithopter in this book, in case you didn't think they existed. I thought it was a helicopter, but it's more like a dragonfly. So it explores the ethereals, and like, so there's this female Tau. She's like super pissed because she got captured by the humans, and she wanted nothing more than to beat the ever living life out of her captors. I think it was actually the Arbites judge that I was talking about. So you'd have some girl on girl action there. But the ethereal was like, no, don't do it. And something came over her. It wasn't just reverence for the ethereal. It was almost like an emotional override. The ethereals have the ability to manipulate humans and Tau subtly. It deals with corruption. I mean, in the end, it's the governor that invited the Tau onto the planet because she was just afraid, and so they have to go into that with her and settle it. These two books are just so different, so different. This one, there's really not a whole lot of moral quandary here on Uriel's part besides what to do with the governor and the traitors. Um, they get the bolter at the end. They all get the bolter at the end. Don't worry about that. Uh, it's I don't know. This is a fun read. This one is a meaningful read, kind of fun, but the pace on this one is just so quick. Uh, and then finally, I think the saga ends with the chapters due. Um, and Han Sao comes back. We've got a bit of the old, a bit of the new. This is a depiction of Uriel Ventress once more. Um, I like how I guess nondescript it is. This one, oh yeah, they fight around. They fight around Macrog. They fight around the Space Marines homeworlds, and one of the best parts was when they fought underground, and like there's Khorne berserkers getting unleashed on the guardsmen, and it was kind of a nod to the rules in 40k where you can't shoot in a close combat because like Persona's like, sir, let's shoot them, and Uriel's like, no, we can't do that. They're in close combat, so that was pretty fun. For some reason, I just remember a lot of the underground world. That really struck out to me. It has a name. Maybe it's Calf. I don't know. So you get to see berserkers. Basically, Han Sao lures Uriel to a planet and just like has like shipping containers full of Khorne berserkers that just open all at once. And so like 30 or 40 berserkers just come running through. And Uriel has to decide like, okay, am I gonna fight them? And he decides not to, and then the whole planet explodes or something. I forgot what happened. Like something really bad happened, and it was just a trap set by Han Sao. Han Sao, and he's just a bad guy. I guess the most notable thing about him is he's trying to prove himself constantly because the Iron Warriors, they'll take whatever gene seed they can to make their guys. They're not too picky about that, but you still get names like Halfbreed. Oh yeah, Han Sao has not Iron Warriors, but Imperial Fists gene seed, which makes him what they call a half-breed. And I think he's just constantly trying to prove himself. This book starts off with a Space Marine who's more or less in retirement. He's like medically limited in some way. And so he's just like struggling with himself at the beginning as to whether or not this is the life for him. He's overseeing an agro world's shield voice system or something, and yeah, he dies, but he's proud to pick up his bolter again before he dies. What else can I really remember from this book? They have a Blackstone fortress. That's like the big thing is Han Sao is driving a Blackstone fortress through the Ultramarines realm. It's a good one. If I was gonna put them in order, I definitely think that really, yeah, Dead Sky Black Sun and Courage and Honor would be my favorite. All the other ones are they're fun enough. But Uriel Ventress is just an incredible character. He's the best Space Marine really to get to terms with, I think. If you ever want to get into the lore, this is where you should start.